Well, we start with Manchester United, and it could be a busy fortnight for the Old Trafford hierarchy as they look to strengthen their squad before the transfer deadline on September the 1st. A new season began with a promising performance, but a narrow defeat as an error from standing goalkeeper Altay allowed Arsenal to pinch a 1-0 win. We'll get to these two in a minute. After the game, Gary Neville was adamant they must sign a new goalkeeper.
It also points towards a glaring issue for United that can't be ignored, and that is that they do need to find a goalkeeper. They have to. I'm absolutely unequivocal on that, because I had experience at United for 20 years where there were two big periods of 7 or 8 years with Schmeichel and Van der Sar, and then in between we had 7 or 8 goalkeepers in a sort of 6, 7, 8 year period. And it's really unsettling when you haven't got a dominant number one who's 6'2", who's dominant in the air, who owns his 6-yard box, who comes and punches everything, who makes a lot of saves and one-on-one and saves your points when your defenders make mistakes.
Well, Darmesh and Carve are here. Strong comments then, Darms. So will they get involved?
It's easier said than done. It's going to be really difficult in the final 2 weeks for Manchester United to recruit a new goalkeeper. I think there was talk earlier in the transfer window that Manchester United could go in for a goalkeeper amid like a lot of rumours about André Onana's future, but then André Onana actually got injured in pre-season and he was set to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. So any kind of move during the transfer window and the early part of the window was going to be completely ruled out. And then publicly, at least, Rúben Amorim, before and after the game against Arsenal, has publicly said that he is happy with his goalkeeping department. He's happy with the 3 keepers that he's got there in Tom Heaton, Altay and André Onana. And there was that talk, because he picked by India, was Onana dropped because Onana was fit? He insists it wasn't a dropping at all. He basically said he was fit, but he's hardly trained as compared to the other goalkeepers. He's hardly had any game time compared to the other 2 goalkeepers. And so he made that choice to choose by India over Onana. Now, if an offer was to come in for Onana, there hasn't been one yet, but if there was, then maybe the landscape can change. But as I mentioned to you, 2 weeks today is deadline day. This is not going to be very easy to do, both in and out.
Yeah, Donnarumma, of course, one of the best goalkeepers in world football. He's available. Carve, surely there are multiple Premier League clubs interested in this man.
I think they may be interested in him, but there has been no contact between, for instance, Manchester United or Manchester City and Donnarumma's representatives. I think what needs to happen is, for instance, Manchester City would need to sell a goalkeeper before they were to make a move for somebody like Donnarumma, and it's the same situation at Manchester United. So yes, he's arguably the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment. He is available, but I think if you're talking about the possibility of him going to City or Manchester United, at least one goalkeeper would have to leave those clubs before they would make a move for Donnarumma, and there's been no contact. Obviously, there have been lots of stories. We know there is interest because, of course, there's going to be interest in a goalkeeper like Donnarumma. But don't forget, PSG would still want big money to sell him, even though he's only got a year left on his contract, and he is on big wages as well.
I think that one other thing to say about Donnarumma as well, I think there might be a bit of brinkmanship between PSG and Donnarumma the later we get in this transfer window, because on the one side, PSG know he has to play. This is the World Cup next summer. He wants to be playing regular first-team football ahead of Italy's participation in the World Cup.
And he's not going to do that with them.
Well, no, because they brought in a new goalkeeper in Lucas Chevalier, and he's their number 1 goalkeeper. Carve mentioned the wages he's on. I just wonder, the later we get into this transfer window, the later we get and the closer we get to deadline day, is there going to be a possibility whereby PSG might even loan Donnarumma out just to get the wages off the books? Because the high wages that he's on, they could save between 15 and 17 million pounds for that year. And people will say, well, he's only got a year left on his contract. How can he go on loan? Well, he could. They just take the wages off the bill, and that saves a transfer fee for a club, rather than PSG being in that position where they're not going to play him, they're going to pay him, and then he's going to leave for free anyway. So both sides, I think, are just waiting to see which one is going to blink first.
Yes, welcome back to Old Trafford as we keep building up to what feels like the game of the weekend between Manchester United and Arsenal. And who better to look ahead to it than our very own Gary Neville. Gary, lovely to see you. First of all, how are you?
I'm good, really good, and this is a great game to have on the day one of the season, or the opening weekend. We had some good games already, but Manchester United and Arsenal is a cracker, and yeah, big questions over, obviously at the start of the season, over big clubs always. I think the interesting thing here today is, does Šeško start? How will he do this season? Gyökeres for Arsenal as well, watching him play, so really looking forward to it.
We'll get into all of that, I'm sure. I mean, let's start with Manchester United. How are you feeling about them going into this season? New look front three, you mentioned Šeško there, Mbeumo, Cunha, proven Premier League players. Do you think that's the firepower Amorim desperately needed?
Well, you've got to have hope at the start of every season, and Rúben Amorim really wanted to add firepower, and he's done that. I'm really surprised they've spent that level of money. I didn't think they had. I didn't think they could because of PSR, but I didn't think that they had that level of money to be able to invest into the squad. To get Cunha and Mbeumo and Šeško, I think is promising. They look like the right profile. Two of them have played in the Premier League before, so there's not a case of getting used to the league. Šeško obviously is the one that's got maybe a little bit more doubt about him because he's younger, and it's a real pressurised position at Old Trafford being a striker. But if the other two can score goals, it takes the pressure off him anyway, it can bed him in, so it doesn't necessarily mean that all three have to be absolutely amazing. I think if one or two of them can play really well, it means it could cover for the other. So I think for United it's promising with those three. There are still question marks in midfield, and obviously with the goalkeepers make too many mistakes, and I think if four of that back three, if Shaw, Maguire, De Ligt and Euro, if they can stay fit, they've got three decent centre-backs there, I think, that can do a good job for them. So I think it's more promising, a lot more promising than it was obviously 2 months ago when they lost that game against Tottenham, where it felt like the world was ending a little bit for if you're a United fan.
I want to ask you about the midfield. You mentioned it there. If Šeško does start and it's that front three, looks like Bruno Fernandes might play a bit deeper. Who's his ideal partner? We know United have been linked with Carlos Baleba this summer, but do you still think that's an area they need strengthening?
Yeah, it absolutely need a central midfield player to go alongside Bruno Fernandes. I would have hoped that Mike Maignan would have emerged in this last 12 to 18 months to be a real star. It's not quite happened for him. That maybe still could happen, but it doesn't feel like it's happening at the moment. It doesn't look like the manager's totally having him either in that position alongside Bruno. Casemiro, we know, has been a world-class player, but his legs, they struggle to get about the pitch, particularly if you're playing against a great team, and this always feels quite big at Old Trafford. Ugarte just hasn't settled in at all, so you're talking about really an inadequacy in there, and then obviously, like I say, goalkeeper as well. They're the two big positions. If a perfect transfer window would be a top-class central midfield player that's got legs and that can basically sort of mop up in front of that back three, and a goalkeeper that can keep the ball out of the back of the net.
You touched on Šeško as well. I mean, you played with some fantastic strikers yourself. Rúben Amorim told us in his news conference on Friday, Šeško could be United's number 9 for years to come.
He has to be.
But I just wonder what attributes is he going to have to show to do that, because United haven't had a striker that's scored 20 goals since Robin van Persie.
He's going to have to handle everything that goes with playing at this football club, and there's been a lot of examples over the last 10 years where players have come with great reputations, great potential. It hasn't quite worked out for them. So composure, temperament, confidence, arrogance, to be able to step out here and stick your shoulders out and your chest and say, I am Manchester United's number 9. That takes a lot, you know what I mean? And what I would say is that if he gets off to a good start, it'll make all the difference. We saw Ekitike for Liverpool the other night scoring at Anfield, a young player. If Šeško can do that, I'm torn as to whether he'll play today. I want him to play. I'm desperate for him to play up front with Cunha and Mbeumo and say, right, those three, make it happen. Stick with them for the first 10 games of the season and let them play themselves into form where they can combine with each other. But I've just got a sneaky feeling he might go with Mason Mount. For a couple of reasons. One, to let Šeško obviously have a look at the game and see the sort of scale and magnitude of what he's coming into, but also to drop back into that 3 in midfield and basically drop onto Zubimendi. He's played in pre-season quite a bit, Mason Mount, so I've got half a feeling he might go with that.
Very interesting. On the Arsenal side of things, feels like there's already a bit of a narrative that they've been so close the last few years. This needs to be the year with their reinforcements that they need to get over the line. I mean, do you share that sentiment, or do you think, Mikel Arteta has shown that steady progress and that actually by just competing they're doing really well in that sense?
Well, I think by getting them to a second 3 years on the trot, he has done really well from where Arsenal have been in the last 10, 15 years. But it's Arsenal Football Club, and I can bounce from one thing to another here. I can say, the parrot on this shoulder will say, basically, he's doing great, he's second, but then the parrot on this shoulder says, hang on a minute, this is Arsenal. Arsenal are a club that should win trophies and win Premier League titles, and have done for many, many decades. They've been a top team. So if we're accepting second at Arsenal, there's something wrong. So I don't think Mikel Arteta accepts second. I don't think the fans accept second. Will he get sacked if he finishes second? No, I don't think he will, because I think they'll realise that they're doing really well. They're still getting the Champions League football. They're getting very close. They're building a very good team and have got a good team. So I don't think it's a case of they have to win this season. But the problem is, if they finished in 4th or 5th or 6th, that would be a real problem. Finishing second, I think, and maintaining where they are, I think he would carry on keeping his job. But they have to win the league. Declan Rice, Saka, players of that ilk, Ødegaard, they're fantastic players. Saliba, they're brilliant players. They need to go on and prove now that they're trophy winners. That's the difference between being a really good player and a great player and deemed as being world class and deemed as being one of the Premier League greats, is when you go and win trophies. So those players that I've just named there, I think are fantastic players. Gyökeres and Zubimendi have joined as well, who can go and be great players for them as well.
Is Gyökeres the one that can really get them over the line, do you think?
Well, they need a centre forward. There was arguments last year that maybe they didn't need a centre forward. You need a centre forward. It's hard to play football without a striker. Not just because they might go and score goals themselves, which you hope they do, but also the impact of just occupying centre-backs. If Gyökeres is in there, the centre-backs are going to be occupied, which means it'll make and create space for others. If you haven't got anybody to play against, you've got to be a hell of a player to be a number 10 and do what Mason Mount might do today, or Havertz is doing. The idea that people can just go and become strikers, the reason they're not a striker in the first place is because basically as a kid they were deemed not to be good enough. So to then put them in a striker position as a sort of like a the peak of their careers at the height of this sort of league is not realistic. So that's why Manchester United have signed Šeško. That's why Gyökeres is at Arsenal, because they need these players and they need them both to succeed, both clubs.
Gary Neville, so interesting as always. Just to ask you one more. What's your favourite memory here in this fixture at Old Trafford?
My favourite memory, we beat them 6. Which is very rare. I mean, some of the games here we got beaten. Obviously, quite a few famous games here. We lost the title here one year where Overmars scored over there. So I will mention the fact we had some really bad experiences. And I saw Freddie Ljungberg there before, who's obviously had some good experiences. But the best one, we beat them 6 one year here. And that was a brilliant game, because you don't often get to play against a team of that quality and be 3-4-0 up and be able to relax. So it was just a nice day, and I think it was a sunny day as well. Quite early in the season, it felt like, maybe September.
You're already making some comparisons.
I'll take 4 today, not 6.
Gary Neville, thank you very much as always. What a game we haven't saw here at Old Trafford.
Right, Charlie Austin, good morning to you. Manchester United did actually get a lot of praise for their performance despite the defeat. They have spent a lot of money this summer at one end of the pitch. Is their failure to have not sorted the goalkeeping position costing them already?
I think so. Yes, only after the one game, but as you look at it, it's something that's been spoke about with Manchester United for a while now. Last year going through Onana's not the goalie for them. It's not that type of player. But now they need to get someone in, because again, it's proven on Super Sunday that let mistakes happen. They lost 1-0 and that's it. I think the alarming thing is as well, you can look at it first and think, the goalie, is it a foul? But you can notice by the reaction of the United players, no one are protesting, no one's going to the referee asking for a foul. So I think that's a position for me that United really need to strengthen and go out for, because ultimately if they keep leaking goals, they ain't going to win no games.
If they don't buy a new goalkeeper, do they stick with Altay Bayındır, or do they put André Onana back in?
I think the Onana side is gone. I think they've kind of parked that one. The manager's parked that and they stick with the goalie now. But if they do, these are going to be the conversations that continue and happening, because are they strong enough to be Manchester United number 1? That's the big question, Tom. As you think about it, Manchester United are still a massive football club, and yes, at the top end of the pitch they're known to having big players, big goal scorers, but you got to understand also United are known to having big number 1s, and recently and for many years now they just simply haven't.
Well, Sky is partnering with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans known as Fanalists share their opinions on their club. Today, we're joined by Manchester United fanalist KG. Right, KG, good morning to you. I know it was defeat in the opening match for Manchester United, but did you find many positives from it regardless?
Yeah, I definitely find a lot of positives, but we never knew was playing Stoke Alona. We never knew was playing Mikel Pulis. We went in against a side that, again, set piece FC, and Man United really struggle with that. But then I saw a performance where I can say we can definitely grow off. But we have an issue with the goalkeeper. That's something that can't be denied. And I like our third choice keeper more than the rest. I'm a big fan of Tom Heaton more than Onana and Bayende. Same issues.
KG, listen, I understand what you're saying. I've known Tom and played, and Tom's been there for years, but you, as much as you're a big fan of him being third choice, there's no way he can be Manchester United's number one.
Why not?
No, come on.
You've seen the issues. You've seen the issues with Onana.
I've seen the issues, of course, but it's like if Manchester United spend that money at the top end of the pitch, this is not something that's new where Manchester United know they've had a problem in goal. Go and spend the money up there. They need a goalkeeper now. You know, you say you've been Man United fan. Number one at Manchester United has been strong, pivotal position. Schmeichel, Evan van der Sar. Now all of a sudden, that's how far we're going back. David De Gea.
I would love.
But now
you're right. But
we're having this debate about a goalie. You haven't got a goalie in there, and that's a big position for Man United.
I agree with you. Donnaruma's available, but we've been sacking tea ladies and stuff. We got rid of a lot of people. Right now, I don't know if the finances are there. We bought in Sesko, bought in Mbeumo, bought in Cunha.
I don't think you can say that anymore. Manchester United can't say that the finances there. You just name 3 players there, big money, and then all of a sudden the finances are not there. We offer sacking tea ladies to then spending over 100 million plus on 3 players. I'm not sure Man United can go with that one for much
KG,
longer.
Do you think, I mean, because there are players who are available for transfer at Manchester United who aren't going to feature. Do you think that potentially Rúben Amorim is waiting to make sure that they are sold and then will use that money on a goalkeeper? And is that what he should do?
Well, listen, the last I heard about players trying to leave was Jadon Sancho that are screaming for freedom in the comment section. He didn't get out there. Rasmus Højlund wants to stay. Everyone's asking to stay at Man. No one wants to leave the club because the finances are so good. Man United can't afford to have all these players at the club and they're not getting played. Anthony's still there. We're really struggling in terms of getting rid of players. I think when we finally get rid of a player, we can bring in a goalkeeper. Donnaruma's the one that I would love to bring in. It makes all the sense in the world, but I haven't heard any links of Man United going for this player unless you lot know anything.
I think that's the biggest thing. Donnarumma suits that perfectly for Manchester United, but what a massive error United have made, not only on Sancho, Højlund, etc., but for many, even Anthony's still there, the big money they're getting paid, and they're not playing. If you're getting paid that money and you're at Manchester United, you want to be playing. No wonder they don't want to leave, or they're going to leave on loan. They're not going to just leave their money behind, but I just think now you look at Højlund not in the squads, I think that his time will be up and he'll be gone. Manchester United made
We were good though. To give us credit, Man United played better than I expected. We put on a big fight.
Big show.
I thought Mbeumo. Go ahead.
No, I said a big show, and I think United will play worse than they did yesterday and pick up points as well.
That's it.
And that's football, right? I think United will play worse along the season and pick up more points. Yesterday, they played well. I think we're saying they played well because of how poorly they did last year. I think that is what it is. I think that's where we're at. And you kind of
sounds like you want to put us in the top 4. It sounds like you want to put us in the top 4.
Manchester United. I think they'll be lucky. Top half is where Man United should be looking at. Top 4 is way out the equation, KG. I love your enthusiasm, but the way over the top. Top 4 is not happening for Man United.
I'm not going to ignore the comment at the start, KG. What did you say? Stokey?
Okolona Mikel Pulis.
Right.
That's what he should be called.
Okay,
it's a disgrace.
But it was effective, and it worked just like it was at Stoke under Tony Pulis. It did work, so would you have preferred it the other way round?
Look, you want to win these games. You do want to, I can't hate and say, win ugly, they say. But then Arsenal, them playing like that, it's a bit embarrassing. All that was missing was the towel. I was looking for Rory Delap. I thought long throws on a throw-in, they're darting into the box. All these things are not reminiscent with an Arsenal side. There is salt.
But KG, is that not highlight? Maybe they've highlighted a weakness. Yeah, we can say it's the first game. Highlighted a weakness. Can we just put the balls in the box? The keeper's not going to come for it. First, let's whip the ball underneath the bar. Keeper's not going to come for it. He's not very strong. You have to look it up that way. So I understand what you're saying. Are they like Stoke? No, I just think you've got to give Arteta credit there and be like, do you know what, their weakness...
I'm not giving him no credit. I don't want to credit him at all.
They come away with the 3 points and once again you got beat at home.
He makes a fair point.
It's a bit of salt. It's a bit of salt.
Charlie, as a striker yourself, how surprised were you when you saw the team sheet and Benjamin Sesko wasn't on it? And what did you make of Harry Maguire pushing up at the end to get that equaliser?
Two ways. I think as with Sesko not playing, you can understand he's only just come in, but they spent the money. So it's like, why don't you just throw him in there? First home game of the season. Fans get all excited.
Enough? In your experience, has he had long enough to get a start?
As a centre forward, you're like, yeah, I want to start. On a personal, you think, yeah, I want to say, paid me the money. But maybe to integrate with the team, maybe not. I think more as you look at it, it was crying out for the number 9. Cunha and Bremo were good, but they were crying out to have a number 9 in there. I think the laughing side of it still to Manchester United is, like you said, Harry Maguire's coming off the bench. Who is a centre half to go up front at the end? So as much as we go on about...
And he'd be very good at defending those long balls in
exactly,
that KG was talking
KG said about the Arsenal playing like Stoke. And no, that's how they think it could be effective. We win the game here by putting balls in the box. They're not strong enough at the back. Because they haven't got a Maguire who's just bait the ball in the air, he's going to head everything. And then all of a sudden, to chasing the game and he goes and plays up front. For me at times, Rúben Amorim, I question some of his decisions, I really do.
KG, were you surprised when you saw that Sesko was on the bench?
Not really. I followed the team on pre-season, and I know that he's very cautious, the manager. He waited 2 games before Mbeumo came in on pre-season, and that's against lower sides in the Premier League, West Ham, Bournemouth. So once I saw that, I kind of had a feeling that he's not going to force him in. We should have done it, though. I think we paid a bit too... Rúben showed Arsenal a bit too much respect, even not starting Ahmad. I felt was a bit of a shame because we was getting changed from the defenders as well. So Man United, we gave them a bit too much respect when we should have went for it. Maybe started with Sesko and then made a change later would have been smarter, but this is shoulda, woulda, coulda.
KG, you know, I watched the game yesterday and I'm thinking Bruno Fernandes was coming too deep. I didn't like him when he gets the ball off the back 4, off the goalkeeper. I think he's almost ineffective there. To a degree, he's trying to hit them longer passes. He's way better up the top end of the pitch, kind of having that free roll, etc. I just think United now, as much as Casemiro is a top player, don't win 5 Champions Leagues and not be a top player.
Yeah,
that's also a position they need to cement down. Give Bruno Fernandes the freedom to play at the top end of the pitch. And if Mbeumo, Cunha, Fernandes and Sesko can all link up, United are solid. But
I'd say
we're
something
talking the
different on that
goalie
Bruno
and the
one,
middle.
you know?
Go on.
I'd say something different on the Bruno one. I like the fact that he wasn't trying to be the hero and he left it to the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo. I think what we're looking for, we're linked to Belay, but that's not going to pan out. But Man United do need a linchpin right next to Bruno, and we could do more. I think I love Adam Wharton because that would be a brilliant player to go in next to him as well. Like one thing for sure is they had Zubimendi, Ødegaard, and Declan Rice. We won the midfield battle. And I wasn't expecting that because I thought Bruno in that position is not going to work. He's not disciplined. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I liked what I saw. First game of the season, though, so people are going to try harder.
But even him dropping back, though, even him, did you like him dropping back and getting the ball off the back 4? Do you not think he should be playing higher up the pitch? Would you prefer would you prefer him on the ball in their half of the pitch more than obviously in your own half?
It's weird because Amorim's gone all out to keep this player. I thought I would have liked him in the 10, but he's obviously seen something different. And it's one of those ones when you're going to try and trust the manager. And it's hard to do. Obviously, we're in 15th and we lost a lot of games last season, but he's decided Bruno is this guy deeper. Let's see how it plays out. I think Bruno can be a bit more devastating as the season goes on. This is the first time the whole team was on the pitch at the end of the game, how he wants it to go with Ugarte. I just don't think Ugarte might be the best partner for him because he can't progress the ball as good as other players in that position.
Charlie said that he thinks Manchester United's aim might be to finish in the top half. What do you think?
I'm going for Europa. I'm going for a cheeky Europa. If we can edge in Champions League, if we could, I wouldn't mind. I would love to.
Okay, KG, just quickly, if you edge into the Champions League, right? And I know you said if we edge, who misses out then? Whose place are you taking?
Oh, Stoke Alona, Arsenal. Get rid of them. They have they can't take that brand of football into Europe. It's a disgrace.